Neil, you ready? You know what? The problem was we talked too long and we start a podcast. If we have a conversation, we're like,
Yeah,
let's start a podcast.
I like it.
Well, so what's the name of this one?
The name of this podcast?
Yeah, you came up with it.
Hang on, I've got a list here of
Okay.
which one it is. This is called Church in Real Time.
Oh, that's a good name.
And we are going to talk about behind the scenes, what it takes, because church is not just on Sunday.
No, it's not. People don't show up. Pastors show up. Oh, show up at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Be gone at 11.
Well, you can do that.
You know,
That's a recipe.
for greatness.
But-
That's a recipe for someone who has a lot of power and everybody else does the work.
Oh my! Yeah,
Show up for an hour.
It's nothing good is going to happen, and there's a lot of work that goes into pulling off church, an event, a moment, or whatever. Because when people are showing up for church, they're showing up with every intent that you've got it covered. This is a safe place. You have done your work and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, they don't know all the work that goes behind the scenes.
Oh, no.
And there's hours of prayer. There's preparation. There is planning. There's teams and all that kind of stuff. So we could talk about all that.
Yep, and that's what we're going to talk about. And I love it because if I'm just someone that comes into church, you're essentially, if you're at a church, you're trying to pack an entire week's worth of value and content and motivation, inspiration into 1 hour. Like you're trying to not only help them with what they just got through, but also push them through what they're going to have the next week. And that's if it's every week. You know, if they come in once a month, you're doing a month's worth. No.
The average, I think they said the national average right now is like the average person attends like 1.3 times a month. It used to be every other week.
Yeah.
And then it went to like once every 3 weeks. And it's like out of a month, I think it's 1.3.
Man.
Which is, how do you do that?
You
If you have a toddler, you just drop them off and you leave.
My answer was close because I've had this where you go in and you have your kid and then they start acting like a psychopath and you have to take them out into the lobby so you can only hear part of the sermon.
Yeah.
But you were saying, they're missing. I was going to say, you know what somebody should do? Start an online church. Add NLC Live.
Yep.
Church wherever you are.
What a network.
Hey, man, that's great. I like the word you used just then. So let's talk. Today's topic, I was really excited about this because I loved being a part of this. And Neil, you were the MC, not the MC, but the master of ceremonies. No, you were the director. You were the guy who made it happen. We have a student conference here at New Life Church.
Yes.
And they've been doing it, I think, since 2012 was the first year they had like the full-on conference, and they call it the Collide Conference.
Yes, it's been happening since the dawn of creation.
Yeah. Dawn of the creation of the year 2012.
There it is.
2012, Keanu Reeves.
Wow,
we tied it all in. Thank you guys for coming to our podcast. We're done here. But it's a student conference, and I've gotten the chance to be a part of it every year since 2012. And so that was really cool. Yeah. I was MC. Nate and I were supposed to be MCs, but then they at the last, we had all these themes and videos, and we were supposed to come up in between every single thing and make it kind of lighten it up and make it fun and then transition. And then at the last month, they were like, we need to honor all the pastors across the state. And so they would rotate different pastors up in between. And so we just ended up pre-service, which honestly, I love. Pre-service is my favorite thing to do because you know why?
Why?
You can kind of do whatever you want. Nobody cares. They think nobody's listening, so you're like, okay, cool, I'll take it.
It's energy, it's hype, it's fun. Everybody's still walking in the room. They're not all there yet. And you get to have as much fun as you. Yeah.
And it's the most important part of the conference.
Everybody knows that.
Everybody knows it.
Yep.
So what we're talking about today is the one I was alluding to earlier about Neil leading it. We have the big conference. It's a 2-day conference in the summer. And then
that's Collide Conference.
Collide Conference. And we have something called Collide Nights.
We do. We also have Collide Camp now.
Yes, we have Collide Camp now, which is a 2-day camp, which is great. It's Friday, Saturday. It's awesome. Well, Sunday also, because it carries over into the Sunday service.
And most people don't know this, but we're actually setting up, it's like an outreach. It's Collide Scuba.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be in the summer.
Yeah? Where does it take place?
There's going to be Collide Spelunking.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Collide mountain climbing.
Different sea levels.
Different levels.
Different levels. It all depends on how much headgear you want to wear. And that's where chooses which Collide camp you want to go to. Sorry.
I got choked up about it.
It's really emotional about the splunking, Collide splunking. It gets really emotional.
Collide night is one night and we've done it on different nights. We've done it on weeknights and we've done it on weekend nights.
Yep, Sunday night.
Sunday night, I think, works much better because we have, right now, oh, wow, yeah, by this weekend, we will have 18 campuses across the state, and those students are having to get to one location where everybody comes together for one night.
Yep.
And a Sunday night works better because it's chaos trying to get that many students, high school students, to one location on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, after school.
Oh, yeah.
And then also there's practices, there's sports, there's
a lot of them missed your
band.
Pre-service stuff, which is sad.
Well, then they did not
They
get
didn't get
full.
the-
They did not. They were not filled by the
No.
Holy Spirit.
Yeah, it was really difficult to get that many buses, that many vans, that many people in. So we did it on a Sunday night. What we did for one of them, which was a couple of years ago, we tried something different, and I don't know if it says a lot about the success of it.
We only did it once.
Only did it one time. It was a lot of work. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie to you, but man, it's very fun. So we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, so it could we didn't have a name for it coming up, but we had an idea for it, and it was Neil's idea. I'm not going to take it, but well, actually, I'm going to take it. It was my idea. I came up with all of on my own.
Yep.
Neil, he was my assistant, if you will. That's not true.
I got sawed in half on stage.
Yeah. Then I pulled a rabbit out of his hat, and then I kept his hat.
Wow.
The Yankees hat. So whenever the idea, the premise behind the way we did the conference was that there are two main things. One is there's a theme. There's a question to be answered, correct?
Right.
What was the question for that night? You looked it up.
The question for that night is why am I here? What am I doing here? What am I doing here is the question.
Okay, one question.
What am I doing?
What am I doing here? And so everything we did, every event we did was supposed to relate to that, either surface level, or deep. Like you want it to like sum up, it's like somebody runs on stage and like, what am I doing here? And like that's surface level. But then you talk about like, why am I here? What is my purpose? And that's like the deeper level. And then everything you do that night points back to answering that question. Yes. And this is the cool thing. Nothing lasts longer than 8 minutes. So like a normal service or a normal conference, any conference you go to ever, there's maybe a short video, like a 2 to 5 minute video.
An intro.
MC does some, look at me, I'm a joke, laugh at the clown. And then the amazing pre-service is always a part of it.
Yep.
And then there's a speaker for 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah. 30
minutes to an hour. You never know which conference you're going to.
So and we could argue this, but for at least high school students, I can guarantee you that. I could say the same for adults, but for high school students, they don't learn in 35 or 40 minute chunks.
Not usually.
Not usually.
Well, and you can prove that by think of the last like lecture or talk, even like a 20-minute TED talk that you heard. Right. Try to remember 3 things from it. 3 pieces of information. Try to remember the next day. It's hard because it's like you're like a thimble and somebody's pouring a gallon of water in it, and you're just trying to catch whatever you can and apply it long term.
So the object is that there is so much going on. You think about the rate and the pace at which students multitask. They are doing so many things on their phone, 15 different things. They're listening to you in the room. They hear what you're saying. They might not be looking at you. We wanted them to not know what direction the thing was going to happen to them next in the room. And at some point, we didn't tell them. We just told them, you're not ready for this. Yeah. That was literally the way that we marketed it.
Absolutely.
You are not ready for this. And so their expectation was up going into it, but they didn't know.
They didn't know what was happening.
They might do 2 30-minute messages. Like, what?
What? No. We might have pizza.
Yeah. So, So what we did is we tried to throw as much at them as humanly possible over the course of an hour and 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And in that, and I'm looking at the service schedule right now, we had 26 different service elements in an hour and 10 minutes.
Man.
Is that overload? Ask a high school student and they'll tell you the truth.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I talked to people after, adults and students, and it was a mixed thing. Like if you look at their normal schedule, and what they do in an afternoon, is it overload? No, it's not. But for them, with their expectations going in and what they thought was going to happen, they were like, oh, yeah, that was a lot. Like, yeah, it was. Yeah. You didn't have any time to rest. And here's the thing, too. That was in 2017. You could still talk to, they were like 14 or 15 then. You talk to them. Do you remember that? They'll name 3 things that happened that night. Yeah. And if they really thought about it, it's all going to lead back to that question, or hopefully.
And we never said that. We said at the beginning of the night, hey, we want to welcome you guys. Tonight we're answering this one question. What am I doing here? And immediately There was an interruption.
Was it interrupting boyfriend?
Yeah, interrupting boyfriend came in, which is so funny. Yeah. So we had a bunch of actors that we brought in, and we rehearsed, sketch comedy. We had videos. We had live elements. We brought in some scientists.
We had a lady. That's the part people come up to me because I popped up. I think I was on stage like 3 or 4 times. I got. So some notable times for me. One, interrupting boyfriend. Him and I got to joke around on stage a little bit.
Yeah.
Then he bounced off and he's running off and gets in a fight with Heber Springs campus or something.
He went to jail.
He went to jail during that. Came back in a jumpsuit. Yes.
Yeah.
And the fun part was so the science lady, we did it to where she dropped like this like dry ice in the bottom of these trash bins and exploded ping pong balls everywhere.
There's like 20,000 ping pong balls all over the place.
We kept going, woo!
Oh, she would like high kick and fist pump at the same time. She was so excited. Because think about it, she does these science experiments down at the Museum of Discovery, and
there's like 8-year-olds sitting there just like, what's next?
This was huge.
Yeah, and there's these students yelling at her, and she was in it. Yeah, and I'm sitting there, and every time she would yell, I would yell back at her. I did not care. I was like, woo! At a mic, and I was like, react, and then just yell right at her. It was so fun. And then those things exploded, and then we had a game, and I think I came up with this game, and I think everybody would. I think there were people that absolutely loved it and absolutely hated it. Oh, yeah. We had these buckets hanging from the ceiling, and we had thousands of yellow squishy balls that said Collide on them, and everyone was supposed to write their name on them with a marker.
Yep.
And then you throw it in the bucket. Whoever made it won an Apple Watch. So
there are 2 buckets
during the game. Yeah, there was one on each side. I only gave away one because I was so aggravated.
We're talking like a 1-gallon bucket, not a big.
No. It was little, and they're throwing, and it was awesome while the game was going.
Oh, it was insane.
The problem was after the game ended, we still had 20 minutes left.
They're still going.
So when interrupting boyfriend came up to talk to me right after, we're standing there trying to go through our script, and we are getting
pelted,
clobbered with these yellow Clyde squishy balls, and then the band comes out at the end. They're chunking them at these, and
trying to do worship.
The stage, it wasn't like because the thing I thought when I was there, I was like, I could walk on stage, tell everybody, if you hit me with a ball, you get an Apple Watch, and they're gonna throw them on stage, and I can say psych, and then all of them are on stage. The problem was we had a catwalk out in the middle, so if they threw, they'd go to the other side, and the other side could throw them back. Now I would say, they're just teenagers; they shouldn't have done that. We had pastors. #lead founding pastors chunking those things throughout the whole service.
Pastor Rick called off, and he was pelting people.
Yes,
in worship.
It was incredible. It was incredible.
Everybody turns into a kid at that point.
Yeah, and you're just having fun at a conference.
So the theory behind this is, and I think you could say the same for young adults. You could say the same for older adults. Doesn't really matter. Is laughter. Fun, unexpected moments, they slowly tear down the walls that we have built up around our heart. And I know this is going to sound overly spiritual, but when a student walks into a service, they're nervous. They don't know exactly where they're going to sit. They don't know what you're going to tell them. They don't know what you're going to ask them. They're almost coming in with a wall or a protective barrier that they've built up around themselves because they don't want to let anybody in because it's vulnerable. The more you can have somebody laugh, the more fun they can have. What happens is they let their guard down. Think about how many times when Pastor Rick has taught our campus pastors or anybody on speaking, he never does a funny moment just for a funny moment. You'll notice he'll say something, it's a joke, it's a story, it's something, and that is a setup to be able to punch you with the truth right after. Why? Because you let your guard down. And that's what happened in those moments. We did the same thing with the message. There are 5 different short messages that were taught by 5 different people throughout the whole night. That is because it was high school students, but it's also because they didn't know when it was coming next. They didn't know, okay, we're going to do a 30-minute message right now. We just didn't want them to know what was coming next.
Yeah.
Their expectations were wrecked.
Yes.
And that's good.
And we had different pastors at different campuses, so they're also getting to see other pastors, because usually you only have time for one person to speak. And so it's like, that's one person pouring into me or giving me a main point. Now you've got 4 or 5 that are condensing a sermon down to one key point, and they're hitting them with this one key point.
Yeah.
And so I think that it was a great mixture of that fun, dynamic, song, person, it was just so fast paced. Like nobody had time to get bored or sit there. And like, I would love to. I wish that we could see. Like, I wish there was a way. I know you can look at like what apps they're on, but I wish there was a way we could see how much people are on their phones and like searching and playing versus recording and and documenting what's happening around them. Yeah. Because
I bet they didn't have a lot of time. So they were doing it where they were filming or they were Snapchatting or whatever at some of these moments, but they were definitely not like checked out.
No.
Because they didn't know what was coming.
They were, because you never know if like Interrupting Boyfriend's going to come up for the third time.
He did. He came back for the third time.
Yeah.
So...
Sorry, we looked at our audio levels. Look how high mine are, and then look how low yours are. Now you say something.
Hey, hi.
See how low that is?
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the fact that they're both
on the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
But I checked, and they're on different mixer levels.
Mix 1, mix 2. Huh. We'll check that out. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's okay. I screenshot
it's going to be fine.
So I can edit that out.
Okay.
Yeah, seriously, what's wrong? Like,
I don't know.
And I've got it. That one says mix 1.
Yeah.
That says 2.
Yeah. Should be fine.
Should it?
Yeah, but we'll look at it.
Okay.
It's going to be fine. I wonder if mine is coming through yours. Nope, mine's coming through yours.
Yeah, so...
It's all right. I just got to yell. It's all right. It's weird. So this format, this style, all this kind of thing, it can be done in a small group at a house. It can be done... You're actually the one who talked about this a long time ago, the way that people learn. We are watching television, wherever there's commercial breaks, there's all sort of thing. We don't learn by sitting for 35 or 40 minutes, and that's what this model was. So that's really why we did it this way. It was a lot of work. It took 18 different people overseeing large areas of this design, and then they had huge teams underneath them. It was more work than we've ever done for one of these in a while, especially for one night. So this is a lot of work for one. You got to build a good team. You got to do table reads, walkthroughs, rehearsals, all that kind of stuff, because the pace that it's going, you don't have a lot of time for an error, a mistake, something not to go well. It's crazy.
Yeah, the only thing that would really be throw off what's happening, because you could even mess up and do the wrong element. They're not going to know. But the thing that they would notice is if there was like a 15-second gap where nothing happened, unless you hit them with a bam, like a surprise. Yeah. And there was like, oh, that pause was on purpose.
It was on purpose.
But even then, like, you just got to make sure the next person's ready. And it's not – it was a lot of work, but it wasn't hard. It was like you've got it all listed out, and everybody knew their spots. And so you had so many different people. They all knew, I only have – you look at it and there's 26 elements, but nobody had more than 3 elements at the most. Like, I think
the most difficult position during the entire thing is audio.
Oh, yeah.
Think of the handheld mics, the wireless mics, the headset mics, every single person. We don't have that many. So it's like you're swapping out. Some guy is running down the hall for a live segment, runs through the back of the auditorium. We go to a video segment. You're taking his microphone off of him and putting it onto somebody who's on the back of stage, and you've got to change over that audio for that person. That is the most difficult. Because if audio isn't working, that whole element is
it's messed up.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. So that's basically the whole 8-minute model of changing it up every 8 minutes. You can do it for high school students. It would work for VBS. It would work for any of those. I would just challenge you if you're doing something at church, ask yourself, how can I break up what I'm doing with a video, with an element, with a game, with a question, with something so that they have to give you back and forth and they don't know what's coming up next, because then their expectations are so much higher as opposed to, I know I'm going to walk in and you're going to do 4 songs of this and you're going to do 1 message of this. And I could predict what's going to happen next. It could be unsettling in a good way for it to be unexpected. You can't do it all the time.
No.
But
because then it becomes expected.
Right.
That's the thing. You want to keep them off guard. And that's why whenever I talk to teachers about how to teach their class, and I always encourage them, like, don't stick to the same model that you've always done. Don't stick to all right, review yesterday's assignment for 10 minutes, and then we do a bell ringer, and then we do 30 minutes of class, and you work for 10 minutes. Like, have 6 different templates for how you want your class to go. And it's going to take time to get the students used to the transitions at first, but after a month, everybody gets used to everything. Like, you could change up anything in your life, and once you make it a habit, it becomes normal, and you're used to it. And so I think that that's what I always encourage teachers to do, and I think we could do it. I mean, humans are humans, so.
Yeah. I love that model of trying to change it up constantly, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time.
No.
You just need to have a certain number of it's like they're not coming up with a whole lot of new plays in the NFL. They're just changing them up constantly. They have the base that they work from, and then they go from there. That's all it is.
And then they get creative with what they do inside there. So, and then the personnel, that changes what you can do as well.
It does. Yeah.
That's a big deal. So, well, thank you guys. This was our first ever episode.
Yeah.
Audio might be questionable
It's going to be
because
fine.
we are figuring it out. You know, we are actually in an airplane 60,000 feet above the earth.
60,000 seems a little higher than
Collide skydive.
Oh,
yeah.
I like it. More headgear because you need oxygen masks.
That's right. That's right. That's our level of involvement.
We want to give you guys a behind-the-scenes look at everything that's going on behind the scenes at church. That could be everything from baptisms. That could be things to how do you set up for an event, how do you do marketing and advertising, how do you do any of those sort of things. We're going to hit a broad range of topics, but we're glad you're here. This is Church in Real Time.
It's Church in Real Time. Thanks, guys.